All right, let's dive into some announcements. First up tonight, we do have From Kino coming soon, Back from the Dead from 1957, starring Peggy Castle, hell of a name there, directed by Charles Marquis Warren. I know nothing about this. This seems more up your lane.
Yeah, I remember when you posted that on Instagram, I responded, I definitely dated her.
Literally. Right there.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, this is a film I've never heard of. Based on the poster art, I'm 100% in, though. 100%.
Will, you are being begged to share your top 3 Charlton Heston films.
Oh, man. My favorite Charlton Heston story is in the filming of Ben-Hur. Director William Wyler went up to him and said, listen, Charlton, you're not very good. And Heston said something to the effect of, what do you want me to do? What can I do different? And Wyler shook his head and said, I don't know. And walked away. Apparently that is a true story. And I think Heston ended up giving one of his best performances for Ben-Hur. So I'll say Ben-Hur.
Did they ever make the sequel to that one that they were going to do called Din That? That was really dumb. And it took you like 3 seconds to laugh. And I'm so glad that I said it.
So I'm going to say that. That's probably my number 1. My number 2, I'm going to have to give a tie. And I think that I don't think these first 3 titles are going to surprise anybody, but I think 10 Commandments and Planet of the Apes, which in some ways are similar performances. And then finally is one that maybe fewer people have heard of. I really love him in the Western Will Penny. If you've never seen Will Penny, it is definitely worth checking out. I can't go a touch of evil. He does not pull off Mexican.
That's not his cousin Charlton Heston. Chris Silvestri wants to know, did Will subscribe to Vinegar Syndrome?
Yeah.
He's lamenting that he did.
Nicomedes has seen Will Penny. Yes, Donald Pleasance also in there. So, I mean, Donald Pleasance and Charlton Heston. Scenery is chewed.
There's a pic from Canadian International, The Agony and the Ecstasy.
Okay, let's throw that up in there. Directed by Carol Reed, and a pretty interesting picture about Michelangelo. The painting of the Sistine Chapel. Right? Nice. I think that's what it's about.
This was an odd poster to have up for a discussion on Charlton Heston. Let's go to the next one.
Oh, you know what? I should have said my favorite Charlton Heston performance is Bowling for Columbine. That's what I should have said.
I feel like the movie Ho would have been more apt for Charlton Heston. So this is Ho coming soon from Kino from 1968. Jean-Paul Belmondo's in this. Robert Enrico, do you know this one?
That Ho over there?
Yeah, this Ho.
I'm such a dork. No, I'm not familiar with this. This is I didn't even see this on your social, so I'm totally surprised by this. I have no idea.
This Ho flew under the radar.
Sidner said, I think Will dated her too.
Yeah, Will probably would have commented that if he saw it on Instagram. Another coming soon from Kino, One Chance or Two, starring Jean-Paul Belmondo again, directed by Patrice Leconte. Yeah, lots of French stuff coming.
I like Patrice Leconte. Is it Leconte? It's not Leconte? Leconte?
I thought it was Leconte. I may be wrong.
Let's probably look.
Distant cousin of the Muppet, the Count? No? Okay. I tried.
It's funny because of the numbers in the title of the movie.
Exactly. Hey, I put up a conversation with Movie Buff Grant. You should give it a watch if you're into it. He's a fun kid. Next up.
Ryan has made 2 bad jokes.
Hey, the first one was pretty funny. I'm going to make a shirt that says Ben-Hur did that.
Oh, yeah, actually, I would wear that.
All right, Vinegar Syndrome on the 1st of January dropped all of the information ever, and we're going to go through it all now. I covered most of this, so most of this we're just going to come to Will for some thoughts from him. First up, VSU line, we got Southern Comfort coming. Pretty big title for them. Walter Hill helmed. This was a Shout Factory Blu-ray that sold pretty well, and it's been out of print for a while, unfortunately. But Southern Comfort, what do you got for us?
Stands right. It's a solid movie. I think that's a good adjective for it. You know, you've got vets trapped in the bayou fighting Cajuns. What more do you need? And it's Walter Hill. It's a subtle and nuanced portrayal of toxic masculinity,
and it's in 4K. And
yeah,
if you did not, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I think it's going to look terrific. I liked the Shout Factory Blu-ray, but the photography, the location photography is awesome. And yeah, Powers Booth. I can't wait to see this. This is going to be awesome.
The colors on this are going to look pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Really want to highlight, I did link it at the bottom here, but Oscar Becher from Vinegar Syndrome, the archivist, did a really fun video on Southern Comfort and putting this out and all that stuff. Explains an inner positive, really goes into depth on it. It's an enlightening little video that he did, and it's only like 5 minutes, and he's hilarious.
Yeah, that was a good video.
Next up is one that we knew, but we got all the details on. The Horrible Dr. Hitchcock. This is going to be coming in a hard box case with a slipcover, and the art on this is really nice. But in this, we're going to have the 87-minute Italian cut, the 76-minute American cuts, and they are going to be in 4K, both of those cuts. We got an interview with Marcello Avallone, an interview with Ernesto Gastaldi, filmmaker Marcello Avallone on Italian horror and his experience of working within the genre. Select scene commentary with Barbara Steele, moderated by Barbara Steele archivist Russ Lanier, and even have the English Raptus title sequence. What thoughts you got for this one, sir?
This is, you know, and this, I think, speaks to all of us, both people who work for labels and work in restoration, and those of us who are collectors. It seems like every week there are so many releases that of titles that I've wanted to see forever and have not been able to get a good copy of. I tend to stay away from like torrent sites and YouTube and stuff like that, just because usually you're looking at a shitty print, and I don't like to do that. It's just, I'm finicky. So I've been waiting to see Horrible Dr. Hitchcock for decades now, and here we go, finally.
It is kind of rough for everybody that just bought the Radiance release a few months ago.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I love that you did that big prologue for that title that just had another release.
I forgot about it.
Will this be better than the Radiance release? I mean, it's in 4K and it's likely encoded very well. The actual feature itself will probably look at least a touch better than the Radiance release. The Radiance release also looks very good and has exclusive special features. So it will be up there, I would say. Brent Madison wants to know, is Existenz Limited the fastest selling release so far? And the answer is emphatically not even close. Thriller last year sold out much faster than Existenz did.
Well, that Pulse video release of the Jess Franco Brigitte Lahaye title, I can't remember the name of it now. It sold out Like,
75 minutes.
Was it 75?
75 minutes. However, there was only 1,000 copies of that, and that was a partner label.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I don't really count that one.
Well, I remember that one painfully.
I'm sure you do.
I did eventually get it, but
and I also will say the Rad 4K had 11,000 or 12,000 copies, and that sold an hour after the Black Friday sale. It was all sold out. So,
dang.
Or the halfway to Black Friday sale. When they came back, it was there for an hour and it was gone. So,
dang.
Yeah, it's up there with like top 5. And then for those that have been around for VS for a long time, it was a much smaller print run, but Mausoleum sold out the first weekend that it went on sale during the Black Friday sale. I think it was only like 3,000 slipcovers, but for a title like Mausoleum, that was a pretty big deal, pretty quick sellout for something like that. But that was
something like that. That's an awesome movie. I love Mausoleum.
I think that was 2018 or 2019, something back then. I understand that Mausoleum's a big thing, but it's not a mainstream title is all I'm getting at. Like Rad, I could kind of expect that. Existenz, it's Cronenberg.
Yeah, it's stuff like that actually really makes the subscription worthwhile to me. I started subscribing when they put out Hell Comes to Frogtown. I don't remember what year that was, but I've been a subscriber since then. And it just takes the stress out of releases like those.
Yeah, that's rough. Anything else about Hitchcock?
It's horrible.
And he got his doctorate, I guess.
Public school.
Let's go.
I didn't go to Harvard where they play fast and loose with the rules.
Where the Hitchcock with the T went. Next up, Forgotten Jolly Volume 6 is a part of the January slate from Vinegar Syndrome. This is coming with Death Carries a Cane, Naked You Die, The Bloodstained Shadow. The Forgotten Jolly title is probably a little overused at this point. A couple of these are fairly big known Jolly. Any thoughts on those 3?
Yeah, well, coincidentally, this is the volume that I've been most excited about. I can finally retire my DVDs of Naked You Die, which I think was Dark Sky, and Bloodstained Shadow. Both of those have been needing restorations for a while, and I can't wait to see them looking good, because both the DVDs were kind of muddy, and both movies, you can tell, are nice looking. So very excited about this one. I've not seen Death Carries a Cane, so that'll be new to me.
Nice.
But Naked You Die and Bloodstained Shadow are both solid entries.
And if you like Giallo, we're going to be talking about a lot of Giallo in just a moment. Yeah, there's a lot coming in this year. And then this one, Santet 1 and 2, starring Indonesia's Susanna. This is coming as a double feature from VS this month and looks freaking amazing. Any thoughts?
I was about to sing a couple lyrics from Oh Susanna, but then I was like, are you allowed to sing that song anymore?
It's a good question.
I'm pretty excited about these. I've never seen them. I know Susanna by reputation, but I can't think of a movie I've seen her in. So this is going to be new to me. I dated her too. Oh, geez. I want to highlight the Deaf Crocodile. Craig has pointed out that several more cat-related movies are coming out. Oh, since you're here, did you hear about the Criterion Channel's cat movie festival that they're having in January? I looked, and there are no Deaf Crocodile titles. You need to reach out to Criterion. They have a whole cat movie focus in January, and I feel like Criterion really missed the boat.
I agree. I wish they would. Yeah, so this looks great. There's, from what I'm aware, if you got information, share it, Will, but from what I hear, there's a bunch of like loved Susanna films that people would love to get on Blu-ray, I'm sure. So hopefully this is like a clue that more are coming.
Yeah, this is new to me. I'm excited about the fact that I am so ignorant of so many of these releases. Like this, I got a lot to learn in the next couple months, which is exciting.
Very. Yeah, this looks great. Okay, so here it is. We have some clues and some just outright titles for the rest of the year. So January, we know these. We got The Horrible Dr. Hitchcock, Forgotten Jolly Volume 6, and then Santet 1 and 2. Next month, February, for Vinegar Syndrome. Phase 4 on 4K. Any thoughts on that one?
Cool.
Cool. Never on Blue, early 60s Italian horror, and a 3-film Spanish giallo set.
Okay.
That's going to be a good month. March, 4K debut of an acclaimed 60s horror anthology, which there's not that many to choose from. There's like 5 or 6, if I remember right. Could you imagine if we get, and I'm not saying that this is coming, nobody start making this rumor, if we get a 4K of Black Sabbath?
Well, eventually we'll get 4Ks of all the Bava movies. I'm like, that wouldn't
Maybe.
surprise me too much.
I agree that it wouldn't surprise me that they came out, but from what I've been hearing, the Bava titles, the licensing fees, like doubled after the last time because everybody saw that they were selling well. And so the rights holders were like, well, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no guesses. When was, like, the Amicus anthologies are 70s, right?
I think so, yeah.
So outside of Black Sabbath, I can't even think of any off the top of my head.
Other than that, we have Singapore Sling that was coming on Blu-ray, exclusively restored by Vinegar Syndrome. And then a Never on Disc 80s Italian horror double feature.
Awesome.
Yeah. Good.
I have no guesses.
April, Never on Disc Slasher, 4K and English-friendly Blu-ray debut of an 80s Italian horror and an 80s Hong Kong action. And this is where the Asian titles start to explode, it seems like. In May, we're getting an 80s Hong Kong action 4K double feature, Homegrown Horror Volume 3, featuring Haunted Ween and 2 other regional rarity titles, plus 2 secret surprise 4K titles. I clicked the wrong button. Let's go back to this one. And then in July, because they skipped June for partner month, in July, Intrepidos Punks, finally, this has been announced from them, I think, at least once, if not twice previously, as coming. But they're saying for real this time, it's actually coming. It will be a double feature plus 2 other horror and action releases. August, 70s drive-in horror classic on 4K. Sleazy Hong Kong Cat 3 film, Wild Paramount Euro Sleaze Rarity. That's a lot of adjectives. September, 80s horror classic on 4K, Giallo classic on 4K, grimy Mexican horror. Then in October, 70s horror masterpiece on 4K, Forgotten Jolly late 80s edition, Never on Disc Slasher, and Corpse Mania on 4K. That's a big deal for a lot of people. Then November, finally, a horror box set and an epic 4K Blu-ray debut, plus 2 secret surprise titles. So looking at that, you subscribe. Did this have any bearing on you subscribing?
No. No. I recognize some of the grumbling that's been going on about some of the practices and communication that goes on. But for me, the stuff that Vinegar Syndrome releases is great. For OCN, the discounts that you get enable me to try out stuff that I wouldn't be able to try out. Once I get kind of involved with a particular label, I usually try to buy from them direct. But on a budget, not necessarily going to have my departmental research budget for much longer. So to me, the subscription always makes sense. There are some other places, I'm hoping to be able to get into a position to subscribe to TerraVision soon. And things like that. But for me, this subscription actually allows me a little more leeway to get stuff direct from other labels. So kind of a no-brainer at this point.
It's a big deal, and those discounts go a long way when you're really trying to get some of these other titles. So yeah, completely get it.
Yeah, I started writing reviews, so I'm posting photos so that I can get 75 cents off or get my points up.
2 Giallo, 3 film sets, and a 4K Giallo. Nice. Kevin says, interesting that for the October 4K disc, horror is in double quotes. So does it have horror trappings, but not just a horror film? Vinegar Syndrome is super, super, what's the best way to say it? Like, they take advantage of clues in the best way possible. Like, they are the most vague clues on purpose.
You know, it's weird. I'm pretty good at crossword puzzles. I do a crossword every day. But, like, I'm so bad at clues. Like, if it's crossword puzzle clue, I can get it. But these clues that like they have for titles and shit, I have no guesses whatsoever.
Because they're not just clues, they're clues, and it's not quite as simple as just, hey, figure it out. Yeah, very liberal with their hints.
I have wishes. Who was it that was calling for cheerleader camp? Oh, I'd love that.
Nicomedes.
Yeah, Nicomedes got good taste. I heard there was an element issue with cheerleader camp, but who knows? Maybe they found something.
That's true.
One of the all-time great ass shots in the history of film, and it's dude ass. I want to make that clear. Dude ass. One of the great dude ass shots in the history of cinema. Cheerleader camp. Good double feature with Girls Night Out.
Partner label titles. We are up first with Saturn's Core, Age of Demons from '93. Did you read about all these? Do you want any reminders?
I don't know a damn thing about a single title. I told you.
A trio of sorceresses are hellbent on offering 100 human sacrifices in order to access Hades and bring 40 the Age of Demons. I think that's meant to be bring forth the Age of Demons. We got a commentary with the director on this new feature-length documentary that's 109 minutes long. Behind-the-scenes footage and outtakes. Super 8mm works over an hour of Damon Foster's early silent Super 8 shorts.
Can't wait to dig into those silent Super 8 shorts. No, that looks cool. That looks cool. I love sorceresses.
Especially a trio of them.
I love, well, you know, you got to have the coven. I love movies about like bringing about demons and the end of the world and stuff like that. I get into it. I can understand the evangelicals. You wanting to hasten the apocalypse, you know, by their votes. Just because it's a cool story.
Right. And it's exciting.
Next up, I don't agree with them, but I understand.
Next one is the hottest seller of the week by far. Brand new Vinegar Syndrome and OCN partner label Bleeding Skull is releasing Blonde Death from 1984. Here is both sides of the slipcover. And man, this one. First off, a little blurb about Bleeding Skull if you don't know who they are. Since 2004, Bleeding Skull has explored otherworldly cinema through reviews, books, and home video releases. We shine a light on independent genre films that have flown under the radar but deserve to be seen by all. Fangoria has called Bleeding Skull the go-to encyclopedia for trash, bizarre, and shot-on-video cinema, while Vice referred to it as like a fever dream glimpse into parallel worlds. Any Bleeding Skull history with Will? Will is gone. I'm on a different tab and did not know that.
I'm here.
Any history with Bleeding Skull that you want to talk about?
No, well, the people, the do the weird movie stuff.
Anything about Bleeding Skull.
I think I got one of their books. They put out books and stuff, right?
Yeah, I've got both of them. I think the 80s and 90s one.
I can't remember. This is the one where they say it's the most important shot on video film of all time?
Well, we haven't gotten to the title yet. I was just looking at Bleeding Skull, but yeah, let's go into this because, man, this really immediately made me get this. Let's all go to Donkeyland, shot on video for $2,000 by James Dillinger, a.k.a. author James Robert Baker, and produced by LA art collective Easy TV. Blonde Death is a savage blast of underground anarchy. This limited edition flexi disc features The Ballad of Blonde Death, an exclusive rip-roaring audio collage by Bleeding Skull that pays tribute to the most accomplished and important shot on video film ever made. And they were talking about this little vinyl disc that they did. And this says, the story follows the transformation of Tammy Lynn Beaverdorf from bubbly teen to death-tripping speed freak, an in-your-face rampage of sex, drugs, and violence that climaxes with scenes that were secretly filmed inside Disneyland. Satiric, subversive, and gleefully enraged, Blonde Death is an essential chapter of queer cinema history.
Well, you're almost like required to check it out now, right?
Yes, literally.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I know nothing about it. You know, like John Waters said, the life of a, what did he say? The life of a heterosexual is twisted and boring. Something like that. Yeah.
Flexi disc is the question from Stan, and yes, it is interesting term for what literally looks like a vinyl record. Not sure if it's more flexible or what, but yes, it does have music embedded on it to play on a record player.
Well, it better be flexible.
Sibner says Will and Beaverdorf dated.
I think I'm getting too much credit now.
Oh, man. All right, that's Bleeding Skull. Notably, they had been curating titles with AGFA, and AGFA was not present during January releases for the first time literally ever since they became a partner label, I believe. And I don't know if it's because of that. And what I'm saying is, from what I can tell, not substantiated anywhere. Just want to say there is a huge rumor going around that AGFA is no longer going to be a partner label. That started somewhere on the Blu-ray.com forums, as far as I can tell. Not anybody confirming that yet, but yes, they are absent in January, and yeah.
I'm not saying it's a rumor. I'm just spreading the rumor.
No, I'm just a reporter, just reporting it.
I'm just a journalist.
Ronnie says a flexi disc is much thinner than a regular record. So interesting. I'd never heard that term before.
Yeah.
Well, Antonio, go ahead.
They used to be called anorexia discs.
Will, you can't do that.
What?
Is that a real thing, or are you trying to make a joke? Because that's really tasteless.
Ben-Hur done what?
That was not a good joke.
Whatever. That was awesome.
No, it wasn't. Antonio says...
I'm sorry. Eating disorder discs.
Antonio says, once upon a time ago, you could record yourself onto vinyl at booths. It was produced fast on a flexi vinyl. It's floppy. I guess it's the same. The classic summer saying. Yes, I apologize. Gus says, I have flexi discs. It's pretty much a thin vinyl disc that is flexible to avoid warding. Look, you got at least one boo.
Oh, come on.
Din that was a much better joke.
Oh, okay. Well, you decide then.
Next title is...
Sorry, I'm edgy.
There's a big difference between edgy and dickish.
You know what I've decided?
What have you decided?
I've decided I want to follow the career path of John Mulaney.
Holy God! What a terrible role model.
No. I'll tell you why. First of all, I'll be able to say whatever I want as long as I do it in that weird voice, right? I'll become beloved all the while mistreating everybody around me, which will somehow make me even more beloved. I will abuse and betray my wife, and then be rewarded with Olivia Munn. And then I will do a stand-up special in which I just talk about what a dick I am, and everybody will love me even more for it. I like that trajectory. I think that works well for me.
Having worked with your ego, I would agree.
Oh. I wish.
Oh man.
I wish I had an ego.
All right. Next title is from Connie. They are putting out Cleaners from 2021. This
my glasses.
Oh, Will. This one sounds pretty great and got a pretty big reaction online, actually. I assume you've not seen this one?
No. Pretty psyched. Connie is a label that I trust implicitly. Like, when they have a release, I don't need to look at it. I know that I'm gonna want to see it.
Yeah, and this one looks pretty dang great. It's got literally 5 short films on here, plus a commentary, and on top of those 5 short films, a newly commissioned short film. That's pretty dang rad.
And it's cool because, like, you know, most of us. Well, I shouldn't say most of us because I don't know the experiences of everybody in the audience. But for, you know, most of the people that I know, like in my immediate vicinity, when we talk about the Filipino film industry, we're thinking about Roger Corman movies, you know? And it's so great to see the actual film culture. And Connie's really gone a long way to helping spread the I almost said spread the news like evangelical. It's like, I have some good news for you.
They're out here spreading the good word.
Yeah, but they are. I mean, it's awesome.
And honestly, I mean, to use the actual root word of evangelize, they are very much evangelizing for a lot of things that did not get a lot of love in, especially just in Western cinema at all.
I'm all about evangelizing in positive ways. You know, it's like I always said, prayer never hurt nobody, but the faithful sure seem to.
Anyway. Next title is the second title from Art Label, and this is Cracking Up from 1994. Very interesting slip art on this one. This says, go ahead.
No, you first.
Danny Gold is hilarious on stage and a nightmare everywhere else. He brings the intensity of a Lenny Bruce performance to every aspect of his life: friendships, work, love, sex, and amphetamine abuse. Danny crashes.
I should have saved the John Mulaney bit for now.
Danny crashes through the Lower East Side like a human wrecking ball, leaving a path of ruined relationships and burnt bridges in his wake. Every success makes him more intent on self-destruction, and no one can stop watching or laughing.
That's great. I immediately got that old Revolting Cox song in my head. Are you guys Revco fans? Anybody a Revolting Cox person? Al Jurgensen.
So many jokes I can make about that title right now, but
Al Jurgensen, Chris Connolly, Cracking Up. That was like one of their big hits. Anyway, I love Revolting Cox. Great song. But yeah, this looks cool. Nothing I like more than films about entertainers.
Nothing, huh? Good to know.
Nothing. Not a damn thing.
Speaking of things that I like more than films about entertainers, the next release is Dogs Don't Wear Pants from Yellow Veil Pictures. Have you seen this one previously?
This is the one I'm most excited about. Not that I'm like super into it, but like I'm super into it.
This movie rules. I have the Anti-Worlds release from a few years ago, and this movie is incredible. This is one that people are going to like a lot. This says, after a tragic event, Yua develops an unexpected but powerful connection with the dominatrix named Mona. But his dangerous addiction to suffocation will lead them both down a wild, freaky path towards emotional enlightenment. A bunch
That's
of
what it's
interviews.
People
Bunch
don't
of interviews on here,
understand.
camera tests, storyboard slideshow, scenes comparison, and an essay by Annie Rose Malamet, writer and creator, host of Girls, Guts, and Giallo.
I definitely want to see those camera tests. Like, what are those like?
Next title, OCN brought on yet another new partner label, Film Movement, and they are putting out a double feature of Dancing in the Dust and Beautiful City from 2003 and 2004. And these are from an Academy Award-winning director. And these are two of his earliest films, and they look and sound pretty damn great.
Another no-brainer, another blind spot. I'm gonna learn. I guess I'm in a musical mood because now, of course, I've got Bruce Springsteen in my head.
Yep.
Uh,
Saw that one coming from a mile away. For those that don't know, Film Movement, it was founded in 2002 as one of the first ever subscription film services with its DVD of the Month Film Club. Film Movement is now a North American distributor of award-winning independent foreign films based in New York City. In 2015, they launched the reissue label Film Movement Classics, featuring new restorations released theatrically as well as on home video, with an emphasis on films by auteur directors such as Romer Greenaway and Takeshi Kitano.
yeah, so like, and I'm so ignorant, as most of you know by now. When this was announced, I was in the Discord like, why the hell is Film Movement releasing, just selling all these old Blu-rays, not realizing that I had a ton of Film Movement Blu-rays in my collection and just wasn't familiar with the company. So like the Reflecting Skin and Boiling Point, the Kitano film, Violent Cop. So now I'm super stoked, and it turned out I think they're still having a sale, so go check them out because there's some good stuff on there.
A lot of their stuff on their website is on sale very consistently, like just about every other month. And big heads up on that. I know we talked about this during the stream, but if you go to their sites, the titles that they were selling on the Vinegar Syndrome site were quite a bit more expensive than on their website directly. So make sure you're checking both of those.
I actually went harder on their sale than I did on the Vinegar Syndrome.
Even though you just subscribed.
Yeah.
Next up is Gay USA from Altered Innocence, who is now leaving as a partner label from OCN. They have 2 titles this month, and that will be the end of their partnership. Here is the front and back of the slipcover. And this is a compilation of protest and what's the other word that they use here? Documents aspects of the gay rights movement during the year of 77, capturing the intersections of diversity and queer life. And there's a handful of documentaries here that they put on here. Lee Gambin worked with them to put this out, and a couple others did as well. This looks great. Yes, Craig, same discs, different prices. Exactly, for Film Movement. It just on the VS website they were, I think, $29.99 for their older releases, and on their site it was $20 for each film. So it's significantly different.
A lot of them are on sale. Some of them might go back up, but some won't. So
yep.
And this is great and timely. This is the kind of history that people really need to see now more than ever.
Yeah, this looks like a really solid release, and the whole Altered Innocence leaving is kind of bittersweet for me. I feel like
because that was one of the first labels you worked for, right?
It was the first label I worked for, actually. But yeah, not only for that, it's just queer cinema, especially like queer coming of age cinema, that Altered Innocence really focuses on a lot. is not going to get a lot of love. Even on the OCN site, they honestly sell less than many of these other titles, even though many times these are much better films. But if you ask a lot of people, like Fun City Edition's leaving, a lot of people, they just have fallen off their radar. And if Altered Innocence leaves and doesn't market quite as well, they could just plain be forgotten. And then, of course, the biggest thing is a lot of international people will probably not be able to pick them up as much. No, Craig, they are still going to be putting out releases. They will just not be a part of OCN.
Yeah, it's really tough because that centralization that OCN does really keeps a lot of the labels in people's radars. But I also know, you know, for some labels financially, the arrangement sometimes is difficult, and it's tough to find that balance. I struggle to keep up with stuff, and it's my job. So,
well, and a lot of these other labels that were partner labels can go off and do much better on their own. There's a lot of rumors out there about some of the contracts for partner labels not being the same, and some partners not being happy with what they get paid. So, I mean, if this helps them, I'm all for it. I want people to see these movies. That's the biggest thing. So as long as they keep putting them out and doing good work, I am all for it.
Yeah. Every time I get an Altered Innocence title, I'm like, that's right.
Sardis says, I think most who bought their label will follow them elsewhere. I sure hope so. Deaf Crocodile, there's a reason these labels are leaving. They wouldn't be doing it if it were not in their best interest. That's exactly the case. It's not like they're being forced out. Oscilloscope, that would be an interesting partnership. Get Altered Innocence to sign up with Oscilloscope. That'd be nice. Next title. Every time it's an Enjoy the Ride title.
Shout Factory could start something up and just like refuse to give any information about what's coming out. They'd be like, well, they pay okay, but nobody ever knows what we're releasing. So
there's just no titles, no special features.
We know it's going to be okay.
And $45. Enjoy the Ride is putting out Never Surrender, a Galaxy Quest documentary. I thought it was hilarious that OCN was teasing the Galaxy Quest picture a couple weeks ago, and all kinds of people were like, Vinegar Syndrome's doing Galaxy Quest. I was like, no, come on.
Tim Allen's finest moment, I guess. I guess I need to watch that movie again. I remember watching it and being like, yeah, it's okay.
I mean, it's got some good humor.
I should hope so. Otherwise, what's the point? Sigourney
Weaver.
I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I don't usually think of Sigourney Weaver as a comedian.
No, and that's what that's besides the humor, there's Sigourney Weaver.
So you're saying she's not funny?
And I, just like you just said, I don't normally associate her with humor.
I'm just joshing with you.
Who's Josh?
I don't know.
Stan said this doc is quite fun. It's an interesting turn for Enjoy the Ride. It seems like it's a good documentary.
I'd like to see this. You know, people have a lot of things to say about Tim Allen. I'd like to see some behind the scenes stuff.
I haven't watched this movie in a very long time. Anyways, next up is One Man, coming from Canadian International Pictures, who's in the chat earlier.
Yeah, that's a definite.
Yeah, this was an immediate. Slipcover looks like super timeless design. I really enjoy this slipcover. Don't know why. It's fairly minimalist. I just really enjoy it. So this one, 1977, says, while visiting a Montreal hospital, investigative reporter Jason Brady meets concerned citizen Marion Galbraith, who reveals that local children are being poisoned by a nearby factory. When the victims begin dying, Brady recognizes the urgency of the story, but he encounters resistance and danger at every turn. As his obsession grows, so does his relationship with Marion, causing a rift in his marriage to Alicia. Right as a series of powerful, unscrupulous forces promises violent retaliation on Brady, his wife, and their children. This sounds great.
Yeah. Well, Canadian International Pictures is another label that I'm always all in on. And if you haven't checked out The Hard Part Begins, let me shout that one out again. I really like that movie. Yeah, One Man Looks Great. I don't know anything about it. That's the reason that I love this label, because Canadian cinema, outside of like Bob Clark and David Cronenberg, for so many people, Jim Carrey,
Yep.
like the real Canadian cinema. I had to. I went up to Montreal to give a lecture about Videodrome because, you know, a bunch of Canadians wanted to get a guy to lecture about a Canadian filmmaker. They're like, hey, let's get this dude. And so I was like, shit, I don't know anything about Canadian cinema. I know a lot about David Cronenberg, but I don't know shit about like the context that he grew up in. And I realized that the moment that I agreed to go up to Montreal to give a talk to actual Canadian people, although a lot of people in Montreal would say they're not. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I read like 3 books about the history of Canadian cinema from the silent era on, and holy shit, it's a really, well, most of the history is actually super boring. But then it gets really interesting. Because like France, there's a lot of government investment, right, in developing and sustaining the film industry. And
must be nice.
Well, yes and no. You're right. Like, you know, your content becomes kind of an issue then. But the whole history of Canadian cinema, I'm rambling. The whole history of Canadian cinema is so interesting overall. That as I read, I was like, shit, I wrote down like 150 titles of films that I wanted to see, and had no idea how I would ever see them. And Canadian International Pictures has been releasing them like every month. Almost every movie they've released is in my list. So this has been great.
I love how I would love to work with Canadian International Pictures, and you start this portion off by saying most of their history is boring.
No, not. You know, but it starts out with these like Alpine movies, these like documentaries about fucking fur traders and stuff. Who gives a shit, you know? But then you look at them and you're like, wow, actually, I do give a shit. This is kind of interesting. Like I just did, I just did a Kickstarter for that documentary about the
Alaskan
thing, because now I'm into it. And it started with, you know, learning a little bit about the history of Canadian cinema. I'll get the titles of those books that I read and throw them into the Discord if people want to check them out.
Sweet. That's a good idea. So this one, I really want to highlight audio commentary with filmmaker and historian Stephen Broomer. They got the guy from Black Zero, who started that experimental Canadian label fairly recently. He's coming on and doing a commentary for them. That's really freaking cool. I'm stoked on that.
He'll probably have a way more coherent and articulate discussion of Canadian film history than I just did. But what I want to communicate is enthusiasm.
Indeed. Again, like Canadian International usually does, tons of short films on this. This looks like a loaded, really fantastic release. Cannot say enough how excited I am to see this. This looks and sounds incredible. Next up, Sex and Broadcasting, a film about WFMU coming from Factory 25 this month. We talked about it quite a bit on I believe it was Sunday. It feels like 4 years ago. Anything about this one you wanted to bring up?
Well, as a veteran of both college and community radio, I'm automatically interested. You know, sometimes documentaries like this get a little indulgent, but given the subject matter, even if that's the case, I'm going to be riveted. The people that do college and community radio are, as a rule, fascinating.
Yeah.
So, present company excluded, possibly, but yeah, you know, if you're in this world, you know WFMU. So I don't know this documentary. I do know the station. So I'm checking it out.
All right. Next up, The Strangler. This is the second title coming from Altered Innocence, and this is one that they've been talking up for quite some time. I think it did a theatrical run recently, I believe. This is from 1970, and it says it's an unconventional French giallo released before the subgenre's popularity boom, resulting from filmmakers like Dario Argento and Lucio Fulci. The Strangler centers on Emile, a handsome young man targeting women he believes are too depressed to go on living. As multiple women fall to Emile's suffocating white scarf, Inspector Simon Dangray, the detective assigned to track down the killer, resorts to seriously unorthodox and even unethical methods to get this man with the assistance of Anna, a beautiful woman who believes herself to be a potential victim. This sounds really good.
Oh, yeah. A radical new therapeutic method. Like, seriously, shut the hell up.
Yeah. This sounds amazing. And then we got a visual essay by Alexandra Heller Nicholas on here. So yeah, that's gonna be great.
I did not insult the anorexic.
I love how somebody listening to the podcast later is just going to hear you randomly say that because we didn't read the comment. So it sounds like you're just defending yourself like 30 minutes later.
Can you share that then? D. Simner has decided to enumerate my offenses, claiming that I insulted the anorexic Canada, at least 2 ex-girlfriends, and I might be the real life strangler. And I would contend that only one of those is true.
Started to choke a little bit there. Sorry, that was really funny. All right. Yeah, this looks like a wonderful release. Decent send-off for the last 2 titles from Altered Innocence. Can't wait to get both of these. These are fascinating sounding.
Going out with a strangler.
And then there's this one that I've been excited about for a very long time. Deaf Crocodile putting out The Tune. Keep in mind, you can also buy this from their website. Link is there. And also, I'm going to do what I should do and put this in the chat so you can open it in another tab and buy it directly from them. Plimpton is amazing. If you've never seen The Tune, it is incredible. But beyond that, we have Oscar-nominated short films on this. This is going to be an incredible release. Slipcover alone looks amazing, but this movie is legendary. Cannot wait to see this on Blu-ray. Anything else you want to share about it, Craig, in the chat, please let us know. Any interesting stories about Plimpton from behind the scenes? Will, anything about Plimpton that you've got a history with or anything you want to say?
I mean, he's a really good artist. Everybody should get this. It's not even like, what are we talking about?
I agree.
You know, like these days, everybody is all like animation. Okay, get Bill Plimpton movies.
Period and done. Ronnie says, I remember watching Plimpton shorts on Liquid TV on MTV in the 90s. Nice.
Yes. Oh, you know what? Liquid TV. Liquid television was the best, dude. MTV is one of the great tragedies of American media. Like from 1980 to about 1995, it was one of the most important and destructive stations in the history of television. And now it's less than a joke.
Shell.
It's less than a joke. Less than a joke. Fuck.
Wheels on one of his rants.
I mourn MTV. I want my MTV back.
I get it.
You know, for somebody who grew up with a goddamn outhouse, you know, MTV was the only way out. Public Enemy videos did more to elevate the consciousness of this country than anything in that time period. It's just, come on. But check out the tune. Everybody get a copy. This is fucking amazing. Bill Plimpton's amazing. He's Martha Plimpton's cousin. So if you like the Goonies, you'll like the tune.
Oh, man. That was amazing. Craig says, I'll stoop to begging. If this sells really well, hopefully we'll be able to convince Bill to release more with us.
Well, there you go.
So, yeah, if we want Plimpton and Deaf Crocodile to have a future partnership, please go buy this. It's Sipner. So it was either MTV or Take a Shit? Those were your two choices?
I just mean I lived in a very, very rural, very isolated area. Yeah, basically, I consider the outhouse a metaphor for my town. But it was also a literal reality. And, you know, if you don't know Off the Grid, stay out of Off the Grid. You know, you ain't from out off the grid.
God, you know, video store, I've been talking about this for a couple of years. I would love some compilations of really great music videos. And there's a couple ways you can go about this, because it's always interesting to do a deep dive on IMDb of some crazy great directors and find out, oh shit, they directed 3 Bruce Springsteen videos, or they did those Duran Duran videos in 1986. Like, it's crazy to discover that and then realize they spent a lot of time directing those, and we don't have access to those at all in high definition. Never
forget Toby Hooper directed Billy Idol's Dancing with Myself.
Exactly.
And you know, there is a I'll send a link. Remind me to send you a link to share with people. There is a website that collected almost every episode of 120 Minutes.
Wow.
Which is probably the most important show, in my opinion, on MTV. And it has playlists, post segments, and links to all the videos of each episode. So it's probably the best way to see most of the really good stuff. I'm sure there's one for Headbangers Ball and Yo MTV Raps too, but
that would be rad.
Yeah.
I know.
How do we get here? What happened? Oh, somebody said Liquid Television.
Either way, like, I know I've ranted about this in a couple interviews, but we have Thriller out there remastered in 4K, and we don't have it on a UHD. Like, get that entire thing on a disc right now. That and the old behind the scenes that they used to show after it, that would be incredible right now to put on a disc.
I mean, I guess if you're a fan of like John Landis and Michael alleged Jackson, but
I mean, yeah, I'd like to see it.
My point is the tune. Let's experience Bill Plimpton. If you all don't know Bill Plimpton, this is the way to get into it, get into his work, and let's do our part to hopefully get some more Bill Plimpton out there. One of the most important animators in the history of the medium, honestly. Like, that's not an exaggeration. So this is probably my top announcement of the week.
I got to admit, this and the Bleeding Skull releases were the two that were immediate for me.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to have a Blu-ray copy of this. This is gonna be incredible.
But let me tell you, man, I used to set my VCR to record 120 minutes every Sunday, because it was a school night and I couldn't stay up even when I was in high school, and I had like crates and crates of VHS tapes that were of 120 minutes episodes that I would just watch over and over, and then meticulously go out and get like the cassette and later CD of every band. that was it, man. And Craig mentioned, you know, the experimental filmmaking of the music video format. Yeah, they were so much more than commercials, especially after the first few years of MTV. Things you got to see some of the coolest filmmaking going on, and bringing it full circle. Liquid Television, for those unfamiliar with it, showcased alternative animation from all over, and Bill Plimpton's stuff was some of the coolest stuff in that. So, yeah.
Canadian International agrees that Sonic Youth music video DVD is essential.
Definitely. I remember when they made a video for every song on Goo, and oh man, Death Valley 69, the Richard Kern video that they did with Lydia Lunch. Holy shit. That was the best, man. I feel so sorry for today's youth, because like they're all anxious and their music sucks.
Did you ever get to do anything with any music videos? Did you help do anything with anything?
Yeah, my sister and I made a music video together for my favorite band, Alice Donut. Pretty, I think it's pretty good. You can find it on my YouTube channel. I worked with, well, in my first real job at Apple Shop. I didn't work on them, but they produced several music videos for old time artists, which was really cool. Lee Sexton, check out, if you want to check out on YouTube a guy named Lee Sexton, Sexton. He's pretty cool. You can find a couple of videos from that company. Old time claw hammer banjo style. A lot of stuff about, oh my God, somebody knows Alice Donut? Oh, that's my favorite band of all time, dude. Oh, no way. Yeah, we did a video for Helsinki. They didn't use it, so fuck them. But I still love them. They're my favorite band ever.
I was lucky enough to be in a couple music videos. I was went down to the Universal Studios backlot one night for a metal band that was filming a video there, and it's very clearly me. Unfortunately, it was so long ago, it's not anywhere to be found in HD, and the only rip of it on YouTube, it's like barely visible. And
Who was
then Demon Hunter.
Oh yeah, cool. Oh man, there's a couple Alice Donut fans. I don't mean to make it all about me, but like I'm obsessed with Alice Donut. I've never met anybody who likes them.
That's hilarious.
That's awesome. Do you know? I know you're telling your story. I saw Alice Donut.
I don't care.
You're not gonna believe this. I saw Alice Donut open for Blind Melon.
Damn.
Yeah, the second opening act was Meat Puppets, and I knew Meat Puppets, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go see Meat Puppets, and then fucking the B-Girl band. This was 1994, so I went to see the Meat Puppets, and before the Meat Puppets came out, this band just kind of come up on stage, and the singer was like 6'3", wearing this like yellow raincoat with all these eyeballs painted on it, and he goes, "This song's about getting your head cut off in a construction carbine." I was like, I'm in love.
Oh man, this has been an odd tangent, and I love it.
So check out the tune, man. Bill Plimpton.
All right, let's carry on from the tune then. Next up, for the Melusine side of things, Quality X Line got a new title called Stud Hunters.
Oh, speaking of hunters, you were in a Demon Hunter video. What about that? How'd that happen?
I wasn't going to say anything special about it. That was the end of that story. All I was going to say is I did location scouting for another video for a friend of mine's band, and that was fun.
Who's that?
This is going to sound funny because I live in Missouri right next to Kansas now, but their old band's name was Abandoned Kansas, Abandon, but that's because they always called themselves We're a Band in Kansas.
That's funny.
Ronnie says she dated both of them. Melusine, Quality X, Stud Hunters 1983. This looks pretty good. Actually, I didn't even notice that is a giant boob there. I didn't look real
Man,
closely at the art.
I tell you what, I was trying to hang a mirror the other day, and I couldn't find a stud anywhere. You know what I mean?
The silence here is pretty deafening.
Well, I'm just trying to say it was difficult.
New audio interview with Misty Reagan on this, moderated by Casey Scott. And that's about it. We got a trailer on here.
Casey Scott's one of the best interviewers in the business.
All the responses to the joke. I love it. You must be the worst husband at Home Depot. Anyways, next up, Will is going to be talking for the next 15 minutes. We have a new line from Vinegar Syndrome that we talked about recently called Cinematograph. Little Darlings from 1980 is the first title coming. This is coming on 4K. And we're going to have a commentary with Ron Maxwell, commentary with Millie DeChirico of I Saw What You Did podcast, alternate scenes with commentary by Ron Maxwell, hour-long video interview with Ron Maxwell, video essay by Sam Deegan called Don't Let the Title Fool You, Little Darlings Beyond the Teen Sex Comedy. First off, how do you feel about this cover art?
It kind of weirds me out, actually.
You're not the only one. There's been a lot of complaining about this week.
I mean, okay. Yeah, like, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Little Darlings. Why don't you talk about Little Darlings?
Well, I mean, so I'm working on this book about, which I've mentioned before, but I'm working on this book about teen sex comedies from roughly Vietnam to roughly the financial crisis of 2008. And it's kind of divided into life events. And so summer camp is one of the settings that I'm studying. So naturally, Little Darlings is an important film in that section that I'm working on. And I saw it for the first time after doing like a marathon of films like, Meatballs and speaking of Canadian films, Oddballs, a lot of balls-based movies. And I was struck because not only was this film like, it's funny, but it's also like this serious treatment of, that adolescent rite of passage that kids used to have before COVID of their first sexual experiences. And so many of the actors are like the actual age. It's not a bunch of 27-year-olds pretending to be 16. And that makes the film that much more real, but also that much more kind of uncomfortable in many ways. And so I guess that speaks to the cover art, which, is it shouldn't be the case, but but in the the facts of our society is kind of putting very young female bodies on display, and I think that's maybe part of the point, but it is kind of uncomfortable. I mean, they're not on display in a super sexual way, but they're on display in a way that I think many people will sexualize. I'll say it that way.
Yeah, this is a big deal title, obviously. This has no legal HD release anywhere in the world. This had no DVD release in the US. It had a bootleg in Australia. This is a big title. One
Yeah,
other,
I
go ahead.
want to speak to, you know, D. Simner's question. If it were boys, would we be less weirded out? And the answer is probably yes. And that's part of why it's so weird, right? I actually think that cover, you know, as we're talking about it, might be in some ways super appropriate, because the film is about young women at the age where they're having their first sexual experiences and sexual like thoughts, and for America that's an uncomfortable topic. And we all, you know, it's also pointed out that yeah, it was written by women, it was directed by a man, and so, you know, there's all kinds of gendered dynamics in the making of the film. I think it's a really good film, an interesting film. I'm excited to see it restored, and especially with all these extras, just because it's one of the most interesting films of that time. And it's also Christy McNichol was such a talent, is such a talent, and you know, she for a long time succumbed to kind of the pressures and of being a child star, and had a later career comeback. Nicomedes says that they don't see anything overtly sexualizing about the cover art at all, and I agree. But I think that, especially looking at it as a guy who's been socialized as a heterosexual guy his whole life, like I can definitely see how some audiences would sexualize that. And maybe I'm being too sensitive. Maybe that's not what's happening. Maybe I'm assuming the worst, and that's part of the problem. And I should just look at the cover and be like, cool cover. That's two kids hanging out. But their faces are blurred. And I mean, you know, I'm kind of looking at that art and I'm like, okay, what's that art saying, right, about these kids? I remember going through, you know, like I remember probably one of the first times I can recall being like super disgusted about the media, and maybe this is later than I should have been disgusted, but I remember when there was like a website counting down the days until Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen turned 18.
That's
so and
gross.
I was like, what the hell? And then, you know, when Hit Me Baby One More Time came out and Britney Spears was 16 years old, and you know, her memoir just came out, and everybody's kind of talking about those issues again. But the same media that does that shit is the media that's like, oh, isn't it awful that this shit got done? No, it was done by you guys. Barbara Walters was asking Britney Spears about her sex life. You know, that's not cool. And so there are some like kind of weird ethical lines with Little Darlings, because you've got these actual child actors who are grappling with these scenarios that people at that actual age do go through, but they're going through them as public actors, right? And certainly these actors dealt with a lot of stuff in their lives that was really sad. And you know, that's one of the reasons, right? You cast 27-year-olds to play high school kids, because you can pretend like there's no ethical problem with that, even though there is, right? Like I remember when Joe Bob Briggs was showing The Stepfather, and Jill Schoelen has a nude scene, and everybody was like, "Oh, Jill Schoelen's so hot," and I'm like, "Yeah, Jill Schoelen's very attractive, but remember, the character she's playing in this movie is 16. Like, what the fuck is happening right now that we're watching a 16-year-old character do a shower scene? You know, like, what does that say about us?" So where have I gone with this? We're talking about the cover art of Little Darlings.
Yes.
Yeah, so it makes me uncomfortable in a way that I think might be productive. And the whole movie makes me uncomfortable in a way that probably should be productive, because we have tons and tons of movies about dudes losing their virginity, right? Everything from Tom Cruise in Losing It to the American Pie movies.
Yep.
And this is different than that. This is a lot more sensitive and nuanced, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the movie again. Like, I've just talked for what, 10 minutes?
I did say before I showed this that Will was about to talk for 15 minutes.
And I wasn't even gonna. Because you know what you need? You need to listen to me talk about gender issues.
Just wait till they hear some of the other commentaries we've done.
Right. Oh yeah. we're gonna talk about the brand. Yeah, you know, but who mentioned the Blue Lagoon? All right, there's a new documentary now about Brooke Shields and all the shit that she went through. And actually, I was wrong. Barbara Walters didn't grill Britney Spears about her sexuality. Barbara Walters grilled Brooke Shields about her sexuality. Let me make that correction. But the same thing, you know, like it was so gross. I really like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. D. Simner asked about that. You know, that's another film that has real nuance to it.
Directed by a woman again.
Yeah, you know, not that a man can't direct or write a sensitive and nuanced film, but certainly, you know, by virtue of your gender identity, you're gonna have some different experiences. So yeah, I think Little Darlings has been a long time coming. So I'm happy to see it.
I'm eager to see it. I've never had the chance to see it. It's one of
Oh,
those.
you've never seen it?
It's one of those that has been pretty difficult to see, surprisingly, because of everything going on with it. So rights and all that have been worked out. Justin Liberty has confirmed that it will have the original soundtrack in full, intact, every single song.
Yeah,
that was a big worry for a lot of people. And then one of the other things they are really highlighting about these releases, which is really odd, but some of the ways that they make these up. So this is the cover of the outer portion of the media book. And then they go into real depth about these molded disc trays that take less pressure to take the discs out than other media books. They make it sound like it's this big thing. And the branding for this line that they're doing is everywhere. It's on these discs here, but then it's even imprinted into the actual disc tray. And it's all over the back of the media book. It's wild. It's everywhere.
Hard to believe they started out as a porno label.
The other thing they were showing on their Instagram, like the actual inner look at this. I mean, like they went really far into making this their own thing. This is
wow.
This is genuinely a bit innovative to do something different like this. And obviously, like, there's a weird take on the Criterion C logo in there, and lots of people have pointed that out. But yeah, they're going far with the branding on this.
Needle scratch segue, but it just occurred. It just occurred to me, if you really want to, do you really want to have a weird double feature? You should totally Matt Dillon it and watch Little Darlings, and then There's Something About Mary. That'll knock you for a loop.
Justin has confirmed there will be standard editions later. Absolutely. They weren't going to make a 4K of Little Darlings, have it sell out, and then never sell it again.
Speaking of Little Darlings, I have a kid situation. I'll be right back.
All right. I'll go to the next title then. Oh, and somebody asked, I apologize, I was going to point this out earlier in the chat. Somebody had asked, should we expect one of the releases from the sub-label every month? And Justin has confirmed it will not be every month. It will probably be like 10 releases in this year, something like that. But when you think about it, with the 2 partner label only months, That's basically every month. So, yeah, we got some more coming. And I think they alluded to when they originally were hinting at this, they alluded to another filmmaker. Oh, thanks, Adam. That helps. They alluded to another filmmaker that they were coming. I'm not sure. Didn't he also say it might get announced on its own? Do you mean like in the middle of the month instead of on the first? I have no idea. That's for sure. Adam is saying, is there a Blu-ray in the media book too? Yes, there is. 4K disc and a Blu-ray disc. Video store, I think the branding doesn't fit with the era of films they're releasing. I completely get that. Completely get that. It's very different. And a lot of people are referring to this as like the Criterion artsy type of line. I'm not getting that feeling at all. That's the one. Thank you, Antonio. Paul Morrissey. Yeah. So there's something coming from Paul Morrissey from this line later. Yeah, people are saying this is like the Criterion art house type of thing. Like Little Darlings doesn't scream Criterion art house to me. This feels more like a Fun City-esque line.
Oh, we're still talking about Little Darlings? I have some
We're
thoughts.
still talking about Little Darlings.
I have some thoughts.
More. Go ahead.
No, I'm kidding. I mean, yeah, I do have a lot more.
KB is here, and Celeste has nominated you to appear on KB's show so that you can be on the conversation.
Oh, yeah. Well, sure. That'd be awesome.
Watch that stream this morning. It's a great talk.
That'd be an honor. It's kind of an intimidating post right there.
All right. That's enough about Little Darlings. Well, I guess we have to talk about this. They're also selling a bundle. I think it's still available with this camp shirt to go with it.
Nice.
Did you get the shirt too, Will?
No.
It looks like a very Will shirt too.
No, this is the only non-black shirt that I have.
And I bought it for you. You didn't even buy it. That's the funniest part.
I have one red shirt, the Severin Santa Sangre shirt. Everything else is black.
Yeah. Let's see. There was one more. This is the one I was going to highlight. I'm happy for Justin, though, as it must feel amazing having his own label, putting so much into a release he clearly loves. So wishing the best for the label. Absolutely. Same. Fully agree.
Totes.
Hey, this is a big deal. Shelf Shock Rewind is underway. For 2023, you can vote now. And if you have never heard about this, I'm going to put the link for the ballot in the chat. You can open this in a new tab. You can vote afterwards. You can vote later in the month. We are doing this for the entire month of January. In fact, if we are light on time, which we're already at 2 hours, so probably not, we can look at the ballot together later. There are a lot of really great titles on the ballot this year.
I don't want to do
that. I will say, being a part of the CSC this year was very difficult. Like choosing only 5 titles for some of these categories was very hard. There was a couple categories when I was counting all the votes that literally had upwards of like 90 plus titles for one category that I had to wade through and count how many votes they all got.
I mean, just think about Beck's best box set for 2 seconds. Like the box sets that were released in 2023 were unbelievable.
Yes. I made a comment in a podcast I recorded yesterday that I could probably argue for 15 different box sets for 2023 being the best box set. You just have to forget that the other ones exist because they were all so incredible. Deaf Crocodile is on this ballot a lot this year. There's a lot going on. So yeah, I will say it was very, very hard being on the CSC and only choosing 5. And then I went to go vote for the CSC ballot. Oh my God, almost had like a freaking aneurysm realizing, oh, I only have to do 1 of these now. And that feels like an impossible task for some of these categories. For anybody that doesn't know all the details, we're going to be doing a live show for this on February 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And it's going to be here on YouTube, here on Twitch, here on the Shelf Shock channel on my channel. It's going to be everywhere. Celeste de la Cabra, who was just mentioned, is going to be doing the award ceremony with me. We're going to be having all kinds of people appear in videos. It's going to be a big deal. We're giving another special award out this year that I can't wait for people to see. It's going to be a really, really illuminating time for many people. And yeah, eager to see who wins. That's a big thing, just to see who the community votes for.
Yeah.
And then, not to just self-promote for a minute, I guess, but I mentioned Oscar Bescher earlier. I also put up a conversation with him this week. And again, not to toot my own horn, this is one I'm genuinely proud of. This conversation was, I feel like, one of the more important ones for the channel so far. Oscar is a very knowledgeable person, and to discuss archiving these films, preserving these films, and what that means to some people, because literally just defining preservation and archiving is a step that we don't do enough, and we just throw these words out and it means different things to different people. One of the things that we really need to go deep into is access to these movies. So I really had fun talking with him and felt genuinely educated after discussing with him. So give it a listen. And I guess as the last part of the self-aggrandizing moment for us, we got a comment, Will. Sand Hamwich says, I listened to your guys' Spider Labyrinth commentary yesterday. It was illuminating, made me appreciate the movie more on my initial watch.
Oh, thanks. That's awesome. I want to say, like, first of all, that interview with Oscar is amazing. But second of all, those are the guys who deserve the credit. You know, I write a bunch of words. You know, me and Ryan talk a bunch of bullshit. These guys do the work. You know, I sit around and I'm like, ew, where's my 4K? And you know, they're the ones who are actually tracking film elements down and restoring them frame by frame. So, you know, the archivists, the preservationists, they never get the awards. They never get the accolades. It's kind of fucked up that critics, you know, get get accolades, but the archivists don't. The preservationists don't. The labels don't. And one of the things I really like about Shelf Shock, and you should be proud because you're shining a light on an area of the film industry that heretofore hasn't got the credit that it deserves. And as far as film history, film studies, media studies, and critical thinking about media goes, this is the present and future of the field. So yeah, you absolutely should be proud of yourself. And everybody watching this stream, listening to this podcast should check out the archives of interviews, starting with Oscar Bescher. That's the
Bescher.
I said all that shit, and then I didn't even have the decency to pronounce his name right.
Oscar Bescher. Yeah, he is an incredible dude. On top of the archiving and preserving portion, I also want to point out people like Craig at Deaf Crocodile, who does the restoration work. That is something that, you know, it makes us appreciate these movies so much more when you see a cleaned up copy. And some of these, like we were just talking about Spider Labyrinth, for years, that was an awful looking movie. Pan and Scan destroyed that movie. The VHS rip looked awful. It was mostly available on bad bootlegs, and that 4K from Severin is revelatory for that film.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm really proud that we got to be on that release twice with the visual essay and the commentary. But honestly, all credit to Severin. We just came in and said a bunch of words. We didn't do any real work.
Right.
Yeah.
Craig is asking, can I ask about the name Shelf Shock Rewind? What's the story behind that name? A couple things is, obviously Rewind, we're looking back at the year prior, so we wanted that included somehow because that involves home video. But the thing that we kept going back to is that we were just staring at our shelves and realizing what a year entailed. And with alliteration, the shock of those shelves was just the perfect way to bring it together.
Yeah, collecting movies is like being at war.
Obviously,
basically, is what you're
it
saying.
sounds like shell shock. That was a part of
Yeah.
it. Yes.
You're saying it's exactly the same.
Uh, I'm glad you agree, Couch. Yeah, that movie looks ridiculous on 4K.
It is a freaking good movie. You don't need the commentary to tell you that. It's really good. It's really fun to watch.
And then the last bit of self-promotion, the 7th issue of the Physical Media Advocate is
Look at
available
that.
digitally. What really sucks is this should have been available physically already, but Amazon has been giving me the finger for multiple weeks on some of these. They have denied the physical release of this 3 different times already. I am currently waiting on another denial at the moment. Unfortunately,
Well, they can see the future. There's the margins. The margins are too close to the edge.
literally, literally, if it's off by like less than an eighth of an inch, they whine about all of it. And then on top of that, they say that my lettering on the back cover is too close to where the barcode's going to be, even though I've moved it and put a black rectangle around it.
The barcode's gonna break.
Makes
I can't
no
do.
sense.
I'm like the only person in the world who cannot do a Christopher Walken impression, but hopefully you've seen the Dead Zone and you figure out what I was doing there. But
if you want the digital edition of this, you can get the link in the description below where it says buy the Physical Media Advocate. You can get it on Amazon right now. It's a really good issue. Antonio, who's in the chat tonight, has a really great retrospective article on growing up around Mary Millington, of all people. It's a fascinating read. Craig thought you were doing an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Yeah. Do you do impressions? I can't. I don't think I can do an impression of anybody.
Surprisingly enough, I do Arnie a little bit.
All right,
now I'm going to have to do it, huh?
Yeah.
Listen to me. We're not going to get out of here.
Oh, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. So I was trying to do Christopher Walken in the Dead Zone, the famous "the ice is going to break" scene, but applied to the margins of the Physical Media Advocate. Didn't go well, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. No, you actually don't miss those shots. What's the phrase?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Isn't that it?
Well, that's literally not true. You don't miss those shots. You just don't take them.
It should be you don't make 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Well, that's awkward to say. That's anyway. I can't do impressions. Basically, that's what I'm saying.
Anthony says we have to have a discussion as me doing Arnold and you doing Walken.
I used to do this thing. You're not going to believe this, but people, when I was younger, people found me very irritating.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know, right? I used to do this thing, and the only person who found it funny was my girlfriend. So, of course, I did it all the time. But we'd be at social gatherings and talk to somebody that I didn't know very well. And I would claim that I could do an impression of anybody, like with total accuracy. And then be like, I can do an impression of you. And they'd be like, oh yeah, let's hear it. And I was like, okay, just say something real quick. And they would just like talk for a second. And then I would go like, and then I'll be like, hi, my name's Paul and I'm stupid. And that would be my impression. And my girlfriend would laugh her ass off, and everybody else in the immediate vicinity would like, this guy sucks. And they were right. She was wrong. They were right.
What's funnier is I think you've told that story on here before.
I totally have. I realized it as I was telling it, but I felt like I couldn't just stop.
Anthony says, Will, please do an impression of Jeremy being mad at Danzig.
Oh. I mean, he wouldn't stop talking. He just wouldn't stop talking. I was on the Discord like, should I get this? And but he wouldn't stop talking. I didn't know if I wanted to get it. I don't know. That wasn't very good.
All right. let's finish these up. We got a little bit left. VSL coming out is Sex Mission from 1984. I had never heard of this, but it sounds interesting, nice and satirical. This has commentary with Jeremy Ritchie on it, interview with an actor, Dark Side of the Moon science fiction films in the Polish People's Republic. It's another interview, and then we got a video essay by Andrew Nette. Do you know this one? Had you ever heard of it?
I read about it, but I've never seen it before. So this was when I saw this release, I was like, "Yep, definitely going to get it." You know, Polish cinema is always like, whether it's art house or culty, it's always.
Sound like somebody just threw your silverware drawer across the kitchen.
It's always. I don't know what the hell's going on. Let's talk more loudly about Sex Mission.
Okay. Today was merch day over at Vinegar Syndrome, and they released this Freeway 1 and 2 hardbox. This will fit both of the 4Ks with the slipcovers. You can either get it with the films, or you can buy it without the films right now. And it's pretty cheap. It's only like $12.99 if you really wanted it. Obviously, it's literally just a box to house 2 movies, so pretty cheap is relative because you don't even need it. It's just a box. But the art looks good. Looks like a fun addition, and they're both great movies. So if you haven't picked them up yet, it's the perfect way to do it. Other merch that they had, this Vinegar Syndrome print that they are doing, and then they've got a shirt of it as well. And then this new logo shirt. We got the new sub-label logo shirt. That's and cool. A tote bag as well.
I don't fuck with tote bags. I don't get them. Like, well, what are you toting? You know, like, tote bags are never big enough to carry what I'm carrying. Like, you can't carry groceries.
A lot of people use them for groceries.
What kind of groceries you getting? Nothing substantive. I got a family to feed.
A lot of people in cities where they actually go to grocery stores a little more often.
I'm in the fastest growing city in the world, or the 6th fastest growing city in the country. And you know, if I'm just getting like a baguette and some like jam, then a tote's fine. But I've never been in a situation where a baguette and jam are the extent of my shopping list.
Justin says tote bags are great for record shopping, says Browning.
I'll accept that. I actually got a tote bag for Christmas for my sister. I'll get it in a minute. It's yeah, I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna show the tote bag that I got.
You know what? I think for the next Patreon, the exclusive one for the higher tiers of the Patreon, the limited edition merch, I think I'm gonna put "I don't F with tote bags" with your name on a tote bag and send it out to the supporters. That is really, really smart.
I finally got okay, so a joke finally landed.
That's perfect.
Although I really don't. I do have one, and I'll show it to you in a minute.
I literally have a pile of like 8 tote bags over there that have come in random packages. I've got a Radiance one. I've got the Severin one from the House of Psychotic Women box set.
What have you used any of them?
Yeah, I genuinely have multiple.
Okay. All right, I'm alone in this world. That's fine.
Dev Crocodile says for Blu-ray shopping, but I don't get to go shopping in person for Blu-rays very often. I don't have many opportunities for that. Will is just gone tonight. Let's go to the next thing without Will. This is probably a good thing that Will's not here. March 19th on Blu-ray from the Janus Contemporaries line of Criterion, Lynch Oz from 2022. The themes, images, and cultural vernacular of Victor Fleming's The Wizard of Oz continue to haunt David Lynch's filmography, from his early short The Alphabet to his recent television series Twin Peaks: The Return. Arguably no filmmaker has so consistently drawn inspiration, consciously or unconsciously, from a single work Is Lynch trapped in the land of Oz? This is going to include a Meet the Filmmaker segment, which is on most of these Janus Contemporary titles, and a trailer, and that's it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Had you heard anything about this before?
Just read about it. I don't think I ever really thought about the connection, so I'll be interested in that.
Me neither.
I'm kind of stoked because they're going to do some theatrical screenings of Inland Empire in my neighborhood this month, so I'm probably going to try to check that out. But hey, check it out. I do fuck with one tote bag.
We'll see who's the filthiest person alive.
That's my Christmas present from my sister. She went to the I guess there's some museum exhibit that she went to see in Los Angeles. So I got a John Waters Pope of Trash tote bag to carry filth in.
Not too bad. It's probably a good reminder to tell everybody when you're at the Vinegar Syndrome site to look for the books as well. Today they have the Pope of Trash hardcover book at Vinegar Syndrome available right now. It's a little pricey. It's $60, but it's the hardcover version, so it's decent.
You know, a lot of people are down on America, and with good reason. You know, we got a shady past. But in a shady present and likely a shady future. But every now and then America does something that makes you say, you know what? All right. And the career of John Waters is one of those things. The man who started out with a film about a divine getting sexually assaulted by a lobster has gone on to become one of the most beloved figures in popular culture. And I just think that's great.
Even inspired Ursula in The Little Mermaid.
Exactly. The man who brought us the talking asshole in Pink Flamingos is responsible for the hit Broadway musical adaptation of Hairspray. I join 100% of Americans in saying that I love John Waters. Even Trump voters like John Waters. You know what I mean? Like all those people who hate drag performers still like John Waters. Probably. I bet.
I hope so.
They probably do. They would. They would if they got to meet him. You know what I mean?
Paul says Lynch Oz really good and interesting with lots of good people involved, including Waters.
Oh, and that's the other thing, right? We wouldn't have David Lynch if it wasn't for John Waters. John Waters was the one who championed Eraserhead and got him started. It's crazy, right?
I'm not even going to highlight that comment sooner. Let's see. Anyways, the other thing I wanted to shout out,
there's a fine line between John Wayne and John Waters, you know, and I think it blurs for a lot of people.
Yikes. The other book that is available right now that will champion as well, I'm sure, at the Vinegar Syndrome site, they have the FAB Press copy of Naked Theater and Uncensored Horror, the memoir by Stuart Gordon.
Oh yeah, dude. I have to shout out my writing partner and beloved friend, Chris Woofter, who gifted me that for Christmas, and I can't wait to read it. Love Stuart Gordon. Can't wait to read the memoir.
Who doesn't love Stuart Gordon?
Ooh, and like Craig, I also saw John Waters in 2023, and it was great.
Terry says, I still love John Waters telling a story about Hairspray fans going back to the video store and renting Pink Flamingos.
Oh, let me tell you, the first time I saw John Waters was the year 2008. And it was like his first tour doing just like telling stories and stuff. And he was telling this story about Baltimore. and seeing this couple with their child walking, and the mother was crying, and the kid asked dad, "Why is mommy crying?" And the dad said, "Because you're an asshole." It was the funniest thing, and the way John Waters told it, of course, much better than I.
All right, we have 9 quick announcements to get through, and then we'll be done.
Oh,
Coming soon on a Blu-ray Steelbook, also without a Steelbook, soon from Warner Brothers, Rick and Morty season 7. I don't know how there's 7 seasons of this show.
so like everybody loves this, right?
Well, there's also the whole Justin Roiland controversy too.
Yeah. I know. I read about that, but like, so I tried to watch this show, and I'm look, no offense to anybody who's like a Rick and Morty stan, because I know that like Rick and Morty people are intense, right?
Yes, like
Yeah.
too intense.
Okay, well then I'm risking getting swatted, but
Yikes!
I tried to watch this show, and I watched like the first 3 or 4 episodes, and I couldn't deal with the belching.
I gotta admit, I've never seen a single scene from this show, so that's
Well,
good to know.
the fucker's got some reflux. The old guy.
All right. Next up.
It's not a joke. I just can't take it.
I get it. Coming soon from Sony
Oh, this looks good.
Anyone But You from 2023, starring Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. I actually have heard this is surprisingly decent for a modern rom-com. Don't know anything about it.
It's a very peck-heavy movie.
I bet.
Glenn Powell, dude, that guy's. You know what? He's the kind of guy that does like 100 reps at 25 pounds. You know what I'm talking about? Gym people know what I'm talking about. 100 reps at 25 pounds. So it looks like he's all muscly. Fucker can't even lift his own tote bags.
Oh, man. Next up is The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, coming on February 13th on 4K, and then in a steelbook that looks like the 4-film steelbook set that they put out fairly recently. So that's cool that it kind of matches.
Oh, let me tell you what. I took my my 16-year-old to see The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And it wasn't that bad.
Will just turned over a brand new leaf. Are you all right?
No. I'm not saying it's good.
No, but not that bad is a massive compliment for a film that came out after 2013 for you.
Wasn't that bad. I do not have a problem with good movies, regardless of the year they're released. And I'm not saying that this is a good movie.
I asked Maury, and the test says that was a lie.
Anyway, not that bad. I enjoyed the loose adaptation of Shakespeare's Coriolanus, featuring a guy named Coriolanus with Medusa hair.
Oh man, I had to zoom in for the Ronnie comment.
Looks like Carrie's prom date. What's that guy's name?
John Travolta.
No. Carrie's prom date.
I know, I was kidding. Special features on this. We've got an audio commentary with the producer director Francis Lawrence and the other producer Nina Jacobson. We got an 8-part documentary, acting ensemble, some other featurettes, costume, makeup, stuff like that. Letter to the Fans.
William Catt. Thanks, Stan. William Catt. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Continue to talk about this movie.
It's Will's favorite, so you might want to watch it. Next up.
No, it's not a recommendation. Just saying it wasn't that bad.
Coming soon on Blu-ray from Kino is the Sci-Fi Chillers collection with The Unknown Terror from 1957, The Colossus of New York from 1958, and Destination Inner Space from 1966. I've seen none of those 3.
I saw The Colossus of New York. Yeah, those will be fun. You know, just some trash. Or maybe not. I don't know. I haven't seen them all.
All right. Next up is one that I'd never heard of before this. February 19th in the UK, Fabulous Films is giving us Rhubarb and Custard, the complete collection, including all of the like reboot that they did from 2005. And there's a lot on here, and they seem to all be colored in magic marker by hand. Interesting animation idea. I'm very curious on checking this out.
I'm not familiar with this cartoon, but you know what I used to love? Rhubarb cobbler. My mom used to make rhubarb. We had rhubarb growing near our compost pile, and rhubarb. Well, you know, if you listen to Prairie Home Companion, you'd hear the songs. But rhubarb cobbler is the best cobbler.
It's another cat film. Yep. This looks interesting. I gotta admit, I love animation.
Yeah.
Next up, March 12th, Mill Creek is releasing Icons Unearthed Star Wars, which is a 6-part documentary series, and it's featuring interviews with Marsha Lucas. That's the first name they mention, and then Anthony Daniels and Billy D. Williams. Yeah.
Who's Marsha? Yes. Oh, she's probably related to George, right? Who's that?
That's why I laughed that they put Marsha Lucas before Anthony Daniels and Billy D. Williams, who are in the Star. What is the old Family Guy run or something like that, where they say you were in the Star War? Anthony Daniels and Billy D. Williams, come on.
Well, they shouldn't put anybody before Billy D. That's
right.
Bullshit right there. Bullshit.
Everybody's all about that rhubarb cobbler.
Yeah, well, good. That's awesome. I will say I do not care about this release.
This is all 6 parts, Sibner, on one release. She was the film editor. There we go.
Okay. It was competently edited.
Unearthed Films is releasing The Abandoned from 2006 on April 9th. We've got a bunch of interviews on here, a making of, a couple featurettes, and some alternative sequences and deleted extended scenes, outtakes, and then Unearthed going all the way back to giving us BD-ROM features, storyboard collection. BD-ROM features in 2024.
So the tagline.
Uh-oh.
That doesn't make any sense.
Death never runs out of time.
Death is literally time running out. That's like the definition of death, is time running out for individuals.
So I will take this moment, because you and I, as far as I can remember, have never talked about Unearthed Films together.
I thought you were going to say death.
No. How do you feel about Unearthed? Have you watched much from them that you've liked? Because I know that you're open to it, but I don't remember you watching an Unearthed movie.
I can tell you I'm against death generally.
Yes, that's why we're not talking about that.
It's a real bummer, especially as a collector. You're going to have to tell me what Unearthed has released.
I thought you would know at least some.
I didn't even realize I had like 40 film movement movies. I just said that like a couple hours ago.
All right. Well, we'll talk about Unearthed later. We'll have Will pick his 5 favorite Unearthed out of his collection.
Just name a title that I would know.
A Serbian film.
Oh yeah, I like that.
All right, coming on February 13th on Blu-ray from Lionsgate.
That was better. That was way better than the Hunger Games.
Priscilla from 2023.
But I couldn't take my kid to it.
How interested are you in seeing Priscilla, Will?
I'm not. I mean, it might be good, but that doesn't look like something I'd be into. If someone wanted me to watch it, I would do it. Oh, don't let me forget to talk about Mandy.
You got it. Craig is asking, has Priscilla even hit theaters yet? Yes, I believe it's played at least New York and LA. I'm not entirely sure about everywhere else yet.
Phrasing. Oh, doesn't she get hit?
Oh, I don't know.
He might not have done that. I think he just maybe cheated on her. Which, you kind of got to expect, frankly.
I mean, yeah, when you're Elvis.
There was some abuse. No, there was some abuse, I think.
I would imagine so.
I don't want to say things out of turn.
All right. Final announcement for the week. Walmart exclusive 4K Steelbook for Train to Busan is coming. And what's odd, it's the same Steelbook design that we had on Blu-ray from like 2018 or 2019, except instead of a white background, it has a black background. And this one is 4K instead of Blu-ray. So no new special features. Walmart exclusive Steelbook. Here it is.
As a Walmart exclusive, they're advertising it as an anti-immigration film.
Have you ever seen Train to Busan, Will?
Oh yeah, dude, I cry every time. I know what's going to happen, and I freaking weep every time.
I'm impressed. I almost thought you were going to say that you had not seen it.
I'm a dad, dude.
It's a great movie.
It is a great movie.
All right.
No qualifier.
Yeah, nothing else to add. It's a great movie.
I include that in my course on zombies, aesthetics, and ethics. And in that course, we start with like the history of zombie and Haitian and North African culture as kind of metaphors for the transatlantic slave trade. And then we go through like zombie literature and zombie films up to, Romero, when they kind of shift to ghouls that then become symbols for consumerism and so on. And then we end on a trio of Train to Busan, The Girl with All the Gifts, which I love, and Juan of the Dead. I think those are the last three. If I have time, I put in Survival of the Dead, but it's usually nobody's favorite, even though I really like Survival of the Dead, but I can understand why people don't like Survival of the Dead. It's a remake of The Big Country, the William Wyler Western with Gregory Peck, just with like a fraction of the budget.
Yeah. We'll talk about Mandy in just a second. Sardis wants to know, do you have to get your courses approved by the admin?
One of the great, yes, I do. But I'm pretty good at that. It's not that hard, but some faculty are terrible at it because they, just don't think that way. In my job, which I've been very grateful to have for the past 13 years, the great thing is I was allowed to teach pretty much whatever I wanted. And the trade-off was it was always to like first and second year non-majors. So it always had to be kind of an introduction. With a few exceptions. I did teach upper level courses. My cult films course is an upper level course. I teach a course in Westerns. I teach a course in alien invasion media. Those are upper level. But most of the stuff I teach is introductory. But that's fine. I like it. It means I get to like teach different topics every year and just make new classes without having the pressure of making it at the expert level.
Right.
Ooh, telephone. Everybody get telephone.
All right.
It's good.
So reminder for what's coming out on Tuesday, which surprisingly a lot of stuff coming out. I know there's not a ton of announcements right now. It's a really great time for releases actually coming out because a lot of these were announced in October and November, which is the biggest time for announcements. So Blood Simple 4K from Criterion, Old Boy 4K from Neon is finally getting released. Varsity Blues 4K from the studio. Will's favorite Telephone from 77.
Charles Bronson.
Eddie Murphy's Raw getting a Blu-ray release. Not sure what they're. I'm gonna need to see reviews for Raw.
Did they censor it? Did they make them take stuff out?
Yeah, that's part of what I want to know. Bunch of Kino stuff releasing next week. St. Ives from Shout Factory also. Suitable Flesh, big one from last year, finally coming out from RLJE. Outside Man.
I just want to say, I didn't think those jokes were funny at the time.
All right. Outside Man from Kino, Film Noir, The Dark Side, 16 from Kino, Odds Against Tomorrow, Split Image from Kino, Blood Rain 4K, supposedly from Massacre Video.
Nice.
The Hell with Heroes from Kino. Has anybody seen My Gal? We got some retail releases from Mondo for The Inferno and Curse of the Dog God. Road to Hong Kong from Kino. A couple others from Massacre Video. And that's about it for that week. And then it picks up the following week for sure. Telephone is your big pick for this week?
I like St. Ives better, actually. But both of those should be a nice double feature. Odds Against Tomorrow, very good movie. Blood Simple, obviously. Dante's Inferno, I'm pretty excited about. We'll see. What else is down there?
Dante's Inferno is probably not shipping until the week after next week, I believe.
Yeah. The Mondo titles, obviously. What else is down there? Blood Rain. What a what a great cover for Peacemaker, the classic George Clooney, Nicole Kidman thriller. Great cover art. Yeah.
Definitely newly commissioned art from an artist made that. I am eager to see reviews on this old boy release, and Blood Simple in 4K is one that I will have to get for sure.
I don't want your 4K. I made that joke too, like 2 months ago. I just realized as soon as I said it, I was like, shit, I made that joke during the announcement.
Thank you for watching The Disconnected. On the way out, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, that you've liked the video, and that you've copied the link to be able to share it with someone else that may appreciate this.